What up? Welcome to another episode of the Dealer Talk Podcast. This is your host, Herb Anderson. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today's session is all about hiring within the dealership, and we have an amazing guest, Mr. Anthony Santangelo. We're going to be talking about best practices. We're going to be reviewing the current state, and most importantly, we're going to be talking about things that you can do to improve on your current practices. If this is an area that you're currently struggling with, or if you're just looking to improve, then you definitely want to check out this session. Also, if you haven't done so, please make sure to share this podcast. Share this episode with somebody that can benefit from this information so that they can take it back to the dealership and implement in their day-to-day. All right, without further ado, let's get into it. Let's check it out. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Dealer Talk Podcast. This is your host, Herb Anderson. Thank you so much for joining us. We have a great conversation. We have a great guest today, a topic that's been a point of discussion with my consultative conversations with the stores that I work with. Obviously, there's a lot of things happening in the industry right now, and I think this is one of those topics that is relevant and it's going to resonate with a lot of people. Plus, the guest that we have is amazing. It's definitely somebody that I consider an expert in this field, and I'm just excited to have him on the show to be able to share his insights, and hopefully there's some takeaways for all you listeners. So make sure to be ready to take down some notes on this deal for sure. So without further ado, Anthony Santangelo. Did I say that correct, Anthony?
Yep, Santangelo, that's right. Yep.
Right on, man. So, hey, man, thank you so much. I'm super excited to have you on the show. I think we're going to have a great session today, and most importantly, I think we're going to be able to leave some insights for everybody to, take back to the dealership and implement in their day-to-day. So first question I ask everybody that comes on the show is just to give us a little bit of recap, just so we can establish your experience with the audience.
Sure. My background you're asking me for? Well, I started selling cars September 8th, 1997. So I celebrated 22 years in the car industry. I worked for Nissan for just over 19 plus years. My last 9 were Nissan and Subaru. Sold 3,486 cars during that time frame with it. And a little less than 3 years ago, I felt this tug on my heart. It was time to kind of give back to others and change gears and become an automotive sales trainer. And actually, before I get into that, I had at least 11 dealerships pass on me back in 97. They said, sorry, kid, no experience, no job. What are you going to do this for? This is an older man's job. Why don't you go to college? Don't call us. We'll call you and we'll let you know, which is my favorite one. I love to hear so much. And I was rejected until somebody gave me a shot. Gave me a chance. And as a trainer, it was similar. I had 6 different training companies pass on me. You've never been a GM of a store before, never owned a store before. Okay, so we know something you have what it takes with it. And that's what I was told. With it. And then Automax Recruiting and Training gave me an opportunity to be an independent contractor for them. And that's what I've been. And now I travel all across North America. I'll be in Canada next week, actually. And, to impacting lives, recruiting, training new hire salespeople and experienced salespeople as well, with it. So that's pretty much my background. And from a car business standpoint, I'm also a semi-professional poker player, a profitable poker player on the low end stakes. So that is a second income for me on the lower side, but I do turn a profit with that. So when I'm not in a dealership and I'm not speaking at a conference or an event, you do find me in the poker rooms occasionally. So
Right on, man. I'm from Vegas, so maybe I'll run into you at one of the tables one of these days, man.
That's my favorite city. I've been to Vegas 14 or 15 times. I enjoy the West Coast. I do have some aspirations to get a second home in Southern California, which I'm hoping I can try to put together here over the next 6 months is what I'm hoping. We'll see. With that, I have my house up for sale right now. So I'm trying to do that. I'm going to keep a residence in the Northeast as well. I live in Philly, outside of Philly now. So I'll still have a residence in Pennsylvania, with it. So, but yeah, I do enjoy the West Coast quite a bit.
Right on, man. Yeah. Yeah. And I've like I said, man, I followed your content. Obviously I see you on all the platforms, LinkedIn and Facebook, and I've seen you at a couple events. I think the last time I ran into you was at the U conference here or in Vegas. Yeah. Like in April, I think, of this year. So, super excited to have you on, dude. I think that this is going to be like I said, this is going to be a great show. So, I would assume that the first question you're always asked is about the challenges and all that with recruiting in the automotive industry, or it's definitely one of the questions that you get asked. But I kind of wanted to start with the positive side of things, right? Because you like you said, you travel a bunch, you talk to a lot of dealers, you're obviously in the know. What are some of the positives, man? Let's start with something like that. Like what are the things that you see some of the stores doing, and doing it well? And how can those decision makers know that they're on the right path for the ones that are because this is such a big topic in the industry.
It is, and that's a wonderful question, Herb. It really is, and a lot of the best practices that I see now across North America, it all goes back to people. We're in the people business. We absolutely are. And we always want to worry about retaining our customer base and having repeat and referral business. And that's very, very important. But it starts with retaining your employees. And that's where it comes down to. You have to care about your employees more as a person than a dollar sign. And the best practices there is the onboarding process. How are you onboarding new employees? The best thing you can give somebody is your time, not your money, your time. And you have to give them time and make them feel comfortable and give them a chance. I like to do what I call take a TO with an employee. But at the end of the first day, before they leave, no matter how busy you are, a GSM or higher, GSM, GM, or owner or higher on a new employee at any level, lot porter to GM. Hey, we're going to take a 5-minute TO. How was your day? Oh, boss, it was great. Okay, talk to me like you know me. You're not getting fired. Tell me exactly what you feel. I care about you as a person, not as production. Talk to me. I want to know what's going on. Give me the feedback. Well, okay, great. And now you talk that way, because now that will show them that you care about them, versus they go home and they felt ignored, or they felt like they had to keep things quiet because they're afraid of getting let go. And then they go home and they say, how was your day, honey? Well, you better keep that resume up on Indeed or ZipRecruiter a little bit longer there. I'm not too sure about this place. And even though they quit 7 weeks later, they really quit in the first 36 hours. And that's facts. With it. So I think that's a huge best practice in the onboarding in that first 48 hours. Print business cards out. Spend $20 on a box of business cards. It's not the end of the world. We've wasted more money on, a poker bet, type of thing, So, I mean, it's just, so take the time to do that. Throw a party for somebody, welcome them in the Saturday morning meeting, uplift them. Everyone wants to feel special and warm and fuzzy. Make them feel special and warm and fuzzy. Give them that recognition, even if it's a lot porter or a technician, the ones that are behind the scenes. Give them a parts counter person. Do that for them. Make them feel good. I'm telling you, employee retention will go higher, because those things is where you get production out of your employees, by showing that you really care about them. And also, another part of that employee retention is with technicians. Technicians are very, very difficult to get, as you know, Herb, across the country. But we get technicians in Automax. We've placed over 46 technicians in the last 60 days that we placed. So we have a data mining system. We have some special processes that we use, and we find A techs, B techs, C techs, lube oil filter, relocation techs. We find them. They don't just put their resume out there. You have to dig to get them with the data mining process, and we do that. And one of the best practices to get technicians to come to your store is to go to a 4-day shift. But Anthony, what are you talking about? Then we won't make the hours. No, do 4 10-hour shifts. You'll see that they'll turn more hours doing that versus doing a 5-day. That's how you can get an A technician. And then also you want to develop your homegrown talent. Pick up the lube oil filter and the C technician and develop that talent from within. Not everyone has the budget of the New York Yankees. Sometimes you're the Pittsburgh Pirates. So you got to find a way to build that farm system up and build your farm system, but do that again as employee retention. So that would be, hopefully it answers your question there, but that's how I feel that would be the best practices today.
Yeah, no, definitely, it sure does, and obviously, I want to get into the tech conversation for sure. That's my background, right? So I started in the fixed op side of the house, and I consult with dealers on that, mostly on that side, and there's definitely an issue there, and I actually see a long term crises, right? If we don't start to address, I actually think we're kind of past that point, but I definitely want to get your information, your knowledge, on that, and be able to share some more in-depth tips. But yeah, for sure, man. No, I totally agree. I think that's the way to start, is that onboarding needs to be the place where we win that employee over, right? And like you said, we talk about the customers all the time and how can we get better there. But we forget about the people, our internal customers, because that's really how I see it, man. I think that all businesses have internal and external customers. Like, your external customers are obviously the people that are doing business with you, but you have those internal customers as well, man. The people that allow you to do business, right? That are representing your business. So, yeah, it's definitely a good place to start. Now, would you say that what would you say is the biggest issue that you see right across the board with dealerships? Right, is it to increase turnover? Would you say is the training, or like, what is it that you consistently see that's like, wow, this I keep seeing this no matter where I go? It's just over and over. It's just very repetitive.
I think the biggest issue today, Herb, is that we continue in the processes of yesterday and think they work today. And what I mean by is, working hours, pay plans that are 100% commission. Those things worked when I started back in '97. I worked on a slow week, 57 hours, and the regular week was about 65. And, come March and August, which are huge months, December, 70 plus, type of thing. And in Pennsylvania, you're closed on Sunday, unlike you are in Washington State, where you guys are open, 11 to 7 on Washington State. I think it is. It's crazy on Sunday. It's against the blue laws in Pennsylvania. I still work those hours, with the 6 days, not including Sunday. And I had a key to my store, and I actually would go in there and just lock myself in the store and make calls. It was nuts. That's not what the salesman of today is. But Anthony, you understand, I need to make money and sell cars. I get it. But why can't we go to a little bit more of an abbreviated schedule to get better production out of them? Here's a perfect example. We should be hiring more women in the car industry. Ourselves at Automax get more women hired than anyone in the car industry, and I would put my personal numbers up against anybody with any women hired in the car industry. And if the single mom needs to put her kids in the bus and can't get to work till 9:15, is that really the end of the freaking world, yo? Is it?
Yeah.
I mean, if they roll at 9:15, do we have to give them a hard time about it and write them up? It's not the end of the world, because if you show them support and you show them that you really care about them as a person, they'll work harder. No one's more important than her children. That will never change. Her why is her kids. If you understand that, and if a single mom understands that you understand that, she'll be loyal to you forever and work her ass off. Facts. And that needs to change in the car industry. From that standpoint, fewer hours that way. From a pay plan, give them a little bit of some guaranteed money. But Anthony, my bottom line suffers. It does, but it doesn't. Because when you invest in the person and give them your time and give them your money a little bit, you'll see that. But what if they don't work out? Okay, well, then take the time to train them. Did you hire them dead or kill them after you got them? The name of our Facebook show that we have on Tuesday nights. It's like, are you willing to take the time? Now, are you capable of doing it? Absolutely. But do you have the time to do it? Sometimes you don't. Because what's reality as a desk manager? You're working 2 deals at once. A third person needs an appraisal. Behind him is one of the girls in accounting looking for clarification of what you put in the back screen from a deal 2 days ago. Behind her is the ASM looking for a $1,500 okay for used car safety check. The owner's texting you how many deals you have. You haven't had your CIT meeting. You have $500,000 in the street. And now your receptionist comes up and says, hey, Bob, that interview you scheduled a week ago, she's here. Now, what's your response? Ugh. All you want to do is have a Philly cheesesteak.
Right.
And that's what. And it's like, oh, here, have her fill this application out. Application done in 14 minutes and 22 seconds. But you don't sit down with her until 28 minutes, 15 seconds later. So for 14 minutes, she's waiting and she's thinking and overthinking things. Maybe I'm not important. Maybe I don't look the part. There's a bunch of guys here. I guess they don't want to hire a girl. And then all of a sudden, she comes in and she's so scared in the interview, and now you don't hire her. Or worse yet, you do hire her, and then she no-shows on you. She ghosts you because she says yes, but she doesn't feel comfortable. And she bolts because you didn't give her proper time. Or you do hire her and she does come aboard, but it takes you 7 days to onboard her because the background check gets left in the desk and you don't get taken care of. People can't afford that. And that's what reality is. Now, let me ask you this. You have a customer come in that needs to be looked at a car. Are you going to say to them, hey, I'll fill this guest sheet out, an up ticket, if you will, the old-fashioned way. I'll be with you in 10 minutes. Okay. And then you get with them a half hour later? Absolutely not. They're walking out the door. And that's anywhere from $500, $700 walking out the door, depending on your advertising expense. And that's reality, Or you have a customer that says, okay, I want to buy that car. Congratulations, Mr. Anderson. Thank you so much for your business. Let's set up delivery for 7 days from now. No. You're going to spot the car right away, for God's sake. And it's like, but that's what we do with our onboarding. Let's take care of the employee 7 days from now. Instead of spotting them into an employment opportunity right away, 7 days. But Anthony, we drug test, we background. I'm with you. I get it. I understand and I 100% agree with you. But why can't we bring them aboard within 48 hours? Is there any reason other than a holiday where you extend it out one extra day for 72 hours that you should do that? No. Even if you hire somebody on a Friday, they should be able to start Wednesday morning at the latest, if not Tuesday. The dealer group I'm at this week, I'm in Long Island this week, the Atlantic Automotive Group. I come here many times to do a lot of their stores. They have an in-house trainer. So we have different programs in RMAX, a 4-day, a 5-day, and a 10-day program. So Atlantic Automotive Group invests in our 5-day program because they have Karen, who's a phenomenal in-house trainer, and I've developed a very good friendship with Karen. With it, she takes over when I leave tomorrow. Because tonight's Thursday night. When I leave tomorrow, she'll take over and has training set up for next week for the new hires. Her onboarding process is impeccable. She's on top of everything. Email sent, applications, all those things are already in the process of happening. So they're going to bring them aboard. And she'll probably start them Monday. Now, if for some reason somebody fails a drug test, okay, but I usually dig pretty deep at that, and I can spot the bluff, so to speak, if someone's lying most of the time, so we're good, with those things. But even if something like that has happened, okay, dismiss them, but get them there right away. You want to get everyone there right away. Because what happens is you have a good quality employee that wants to start right away, and you start 7 days from now, then they overthink it, and somebody loves them the most, blocks them from the opportunity advancement, and all of a sudden they ghost you, and then you call them, I lost the people. Well, again, did you hire them dead or kill them after you got them? Well, guess what? You didn't have a chance to kill them after you got them because you hired a ghost because you didn't take the time to spot your employee right away. And that's what really needs to change in the industry, in my opinion.
What about, okay, so decision makers, right, that are listening in, they're looking at what is the average, like what does it cost, average cost for a decision maker for that high turnover?
You said the average cost for a decision maker for turnover, is that what you said?
Yes, correct.
Per employee?
Yeah, like what would you say? I mean, is there a statistic out there, or something that you guys maybe have put together?
One of the things I look at is you look at the average income that you have for your employee. You take your total payroll and divide it by your number of employees, and that's your average income. I'm going to guess and say it's probably going to be somewhere between $45,000 to $52,000. Somewhere in there. I mean, you got lotologists making $28,000 a year. You got GMs making $250,000 a year. Anything in between, all that different type of stuff there. And you look at that from an employee standpoint, and when you're rehiring all the time, the production is going to drop down. So we'll take sales, obviously, which is my main background. You're continuously keep bringing new people on, and they're not being taught to prospect and bring customers aboard. Now, those customers will dwindle because they like to see the same faces. They want to come back there, with that. Now, what happens if they choose to leave the industry? Okay, so you had them for 3 years, and their dream position came available that's outside the car industry. You're never going to hurt somebody for bettering themselves. So that's okay. If their 3 years of customer base stays with you, they're not going to another dealer. So I guess per hire, you want to look at the average income per year divided by the amount of people you've hired, fired, quit, and all that, and then divided by those terms from a mathematical equation. It's going to cost you thousands of dollars, per person. Where, and again, shameless plug here, but, you do a recruiting and training campaign for 5 days that will get yourself, on average 7 to 9 people, which is an average class across the country. My class today was 14 that I had, but the average class 7 to 9 across the country, and you're getting the good people and you retain them. And even if 50% lasts and you have 4 or 5 and one's a superstar, then what have they gained for a small investment? The ones that, like Adam Aarons up in Patriot, Nissan and Patriot Subaru up in Maine and New Hampshire and Massachusetts. He has 3 different stores, 2 Subaru and a Nissan store. His employee retention's impeccable. He keeps people. He absolutely does. Brian Benstock of Paragon Honda, yes. number one Honda Acura store in the country. He keeps people. The employee retention is there. I actually hired someone this week that was working for Brian. The only reason he's leaving Brian is he bought a house that is 90 minutes away from that store. And I hired him. Because when he came in right away, the guy gave me his business card, and I interviewed him, and I didn't tell him that I knew Brian. But I was like, okay, what's going on here? You've been there 5 or 6 years. He's an Anthony. I bought this dream house. I love this house and everything for my family. I said almost this month, but I just can't do the drive. It's too far. And I really like the Audi product, which is the store I was at this week. I'm at this week type of thing. So, that's the only way he's losing people. Everyone's staying with him. That's good people. Scott Simons, Carter Myers Group, same thing with Scott. So that's what you want to be able to do. Follow the examples, and they have implement training in place, recruiting processes in place. Both Brian Benstock stores and Adam Aarons stores are on our platform called Automotive HR, which I highly recommend. You guys can reach out to me later on that if you want. Those things definitely give you the best quantity of quality of applicants that get them to stay, to have that turnover go down. And then what's that do to your bottom line? Because they're bringing in more repeat business. You're cultivating a customer base, which is what we want to do, right? Yes or no?
Yeah, no, definitely. And that's why I kind of wanted to put that perspective out there, because it can be done, right? And it does save you money when you do it right the first time, and you cut that turnover down. And like you said, it builds, right? Because that customer, that employee stays there, builds out the relationship with that customer, and that customer keeps coming back, right? Because those relationships, they're valuable to the store, right? Not just the cost of onboarding and all that, which I also believe it's a savings to the dealer, but it's the cost of having that employees or store and cultivate the relationships and those back. So,
and I 100% agree with you. And it's about doing things the right time. We'll go to stores every 3-4 months, but some stores like the Belize Automotive Group has 20-something stores in Massachusetts, and we divide them up. Some are in the Providence, Rhode Island area. We have one of our trainers does them. Some are in the Cape Cod, and my mentor, John Tracy, does them. And then I do the West Springfield stores. And I have not been there in almost 2 years. Why? Because they invested in a 10-day program with us. And the people that I got them, not everyone has lasted, but they still have a lot of people from my class, so they don't need anyone. I'm okay with that. I miss my students. I do, and I talk to them on the phone and text them and check on them to make sure they're doing okay. But I'm okay with that. But Anthony, it's less money in your pocket. I'm okay with that. do things the right way and invest in that process, which is exciting. I did a store in Nanuet, New York a month ago. Nanuet, New York is not the easiest place to recruit. I've had there's a town 45 minutes from there that I had my smallest class ever before. So when he reached out to me, that gentleman, Anthony, I see you on social media, and I really want you to come and everything. What can you do? Can you guarantee me anything? I said, I can't. I know it's a little bit of a tough area, but I'm going to do the best I can. I do understand your market. And I went through the process. I want the 10-day program. Okay. So I ended up inviting 10 people back. So it was a tickle above average. Again, the average class is 7 to 9 people across the country. And all 10 lasted all throughout the 5 days. I didn't dismiss anybody. No one dismissed themselves. They only wanted 6 people, Herb. They hired all 10 because of my recommendation.
Wow.
9 of them are still there a month later.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Wow.
So
that's awesome.
90%, 30 days later with that. And the one gentleman that did is not there. It wasn't for production. He made a little bit of a mistake, and I had reached out to him. He reached out to me, and then he ended up interviewing another store, and the manager knew my reputation, knew who I was, and reached out, and he decided to give him a chance. He said, Anthony, if he was trained by you, and I told him exactly what happened, and they gave him a chance. So I got him hired again. And that particular salesperson knows what he did. Something he did was wrong. It wasn't unethical. It just was something he made a mistake on, and it won't happen again. Type of thing. So he's still in the car industry, which is exciting, on itself. So, I mean, the retention is just off the charts because of the extra time. And when you spend time with somebody, that is, it's important. It's about making the priority, with that. Even with your podcast, I wanted to make this a priority. You asked me to do this. I wanted to do this, and it's a little bit tough on Saturday nights for me because it's the only day I'm usually home to try to unpack, repack, laundry, run an errand, try to find somebody to have dinner with. So I'm tired of eating dinner by myself, type of thing, and everything. It gets a little bit tough at times, but I wanted to do this, and I knew tonight I could do it. I taught my training class all day today. I was on Auto Dealer Live this afternoon with David Villa. Right after my training class, I had one of my students come back to the store and met with me for 15 minutes from today because he wanted to talk to me about a couple different things face to face. Spent some more time with there, talked to the in-house trainer for 20 minutes, came back, grabbed quick dinner, made a phone call to somebody, and then jumped in the podcast here. But I knew I was going to give you 100% energy. I knew it. After we finish the podcast, I might pass out afterwards, but I'm good. Right?
Yeah, man.
You know what I'm saying? Because you make the priorities for things that are important. I really wanted to do this. I wanted to give back to you. You reached out, and I wanted to get back to you. And that's what you want to do. You want to show your employees that as well. And that's why, obviously everyone knows my hashtag is Go All In, but my secondary hashtag is My Time Is Yours. And that's something that's very important to me, to get back to my time.
And the employees see that you're making that investment. And like you said, I think that really goes a long way for sure. So kind of switching gears a little bit. So I wanted to definitely cover this topic with you because it's something that I'm not going to say it's a frustrating point, but it's definitely becoming a pet peeve of mine, especially because there's a shift happening in our industry, right? The veterans are kind of, making room for the new wave, right? And there's this word that is being thrown out there a lot, and that word is millennials. Mm-hmm. And it comes with a lot of negative connotation to it for some reason. And I just wanted to get your perspective on that, because the reality is that there's a new generation coming in, right? And a lot of decision makers are kind of having a difficult time, and based on my conversations on recruiting, retaining, and really connecting with this group of and I just wanted to kind of see if you had any tips, if you're seeing some, if that's kind of resonated in your experience, and how can we give some insight, some tips to the decision makers to kind of make that transition smooth?
Wonderful question. It's important that you don't judge a book by its cover.
Yeah.
And just because a millennial comes in doesn't mean they're irresponsible. And just because somebody comes in over 50 years old doesn't mean that they don't want to work. And just because a single mom comes in doesn't mean she can't work the hours. You want to base somebody off of their own merit. I was having a conversation with somebody literally before I jumped on the podcast with you. Base things off of that person's own merit, not off of your poor past results. This is so key when it comes to your employees. Muhammad Iraqi is my favorite manager ever. I love Mo very much. He's general manager of Conquerville Subaru in Glen Mills, Pennsylvania. When I first met Mo, I was 10 years in the business already, all with Nissan. I came to Conquerville Nissan Subaru. Hey, Aunt, you want to sell Subaru too? Yeah, no big deal. I've been already with Nissan for 10 years. Japanese car, absolutely. No, I fell on my face. Muhammad was able to train me and get into my thick Italian skull. 10 years in the business where I was cocky and thought I knew it all, and manage me. I will do anything for Mel. Anything for him, because he knows how to manage people differently. And you have to understand that. One of the things I'm a huge believer of, and a lot of stores choose not to do it, and that's okay, it's their sandbox, not mine, is for a compensation plan. Every employee in the organization, from your lotologist up to your GM, put something in their pay plan that is specially catered to them. Well, what's that mean? Well, that person might have college loans, and maybe they weren't taught to pay their bills the way that I was taught, type of thing, and they struggle with that. So you give them a goal and say, okay, if you do this, we're going to cut the check directly toward your student loans. So that way you don't have to be tempted to spend the money on something crazy, and we'll help pay your student loans off. Give them motivation.
I love that.
That's that single mom or that parent where it's a no-no in the car industry. You have to, you can't take a Saturday off. I mean, that was drilled in my head for all these years. Hey, you hit your goal last month. Guess what? Your son's football game or T-ball games at 9 o'clock on Saturday morning. Your daughter's dance recital or Girl Scouts 9 o'clock Saturday morning. We'll see you at noon on Saturday. Oh my God, Anthony, we can't do that. And have somebody come in at 12 o'clock on Saturday? Okay, really? How much more production do you think you're going to get out of that employee?
Yeah, man, for sure.
When their number one priority in their life is their kids. And then you said to them, you know what? Hey, I heard that we'll see you in a few hours. Don't worry about it. But it's Saturday, boss. I get it. It's okay. And implement that in their pay plan. It's not all about the pasta, and I call money pasta being Italian. It's not all about the pasta. It's just, two things in life. You need money to live, you need pasta to live, right? Because when I write goal-setting forms, I've been doing this since 2006, and not when I first started selling cars, 97. 2006, I write pasta plans. So when I go over a pay plan like I did today in training, I write a pasta plan for the salespeople. I do.
I love that. So, that's awesome.
It's important, right? But you want to write a specific in the person's pasta plan, their compensation plan, something designed for them. If it's an extra time off, student loan reimbursement, hey, roll in at 9:30 on a Monday morning, put your daughter on the bus. If it's donuts with dad day at school type of thing, hey, dude, don't worry about it. But it's last day of the month. That's okay. We'll see you at 11. Don't worry about it. Start giving back to them. Now, if an employee's not reciprocating and putting the production, well, that's all a different story. You have a little come to Jesus meeting about that and address it. But if somebody's giving back, everyone wants to have a pat on their back and wants to have an attaboy or attagirl. And in the car industry, we lack that. We really do. We have a podcast. I'm sorry, one more thing here. We have a podcast. I have our Facebook show on Tuesday nights, 8 o'clock Eastern, behind that call after God. But the owner of Automax, Craig Lockhart, and his general manager, part owner, Ernie Kaspowitz, and the fixed operations director and part owner, Joe Lockhart, Craig's son, they host a podcast, which is a face-to-face podcast in Bentonville, Pennsylvania, called the Recruiter Podcast. And where we interviews people. And 2 weeks ago was the first week I was home in 6 months. I've been campaign after campaign after campaign, speaking at a couple different conferences. July 4th week, I took some time, went to Cancun, so I mean, it's tough to do a campaign the 4th of July week. But literally 2 weeks ago was the first time I was home and was not speaking at an event or at a conference or at a campaign in 6 months. So I did the podcast with Craig. And we spoke for 4 hours. It's a long-form podcast. And at the end, he said to me, we're really proud of you, Anthony. And that made me feel good. I'm not an employee of Automax. I'm an independent contractor. The government knows me as Santangelo's Training Services. But that attaboy made me feel good because Automax gave this, as Craig calls me, kid. He calls me kid a shot. Craig's birthday's coming up. I won't say how old he is, but he's we'll just say he's 25 years older than me. And because I'm not a kid, but in his eyes, I'm a kid. They gave me a chance, and I'm forever grateful. I'm looking at my hotel room right now at the Automax hat that I have on the table. I'm staring at right now, type of thing. I'm proud to wear that hat. I really am. And it's important to give back to your employees and let people know that. Those things go so far, Herb, so far to be able to get the proper production out of your employee.
Yeah, I love that idea because it's not just addressing the millennial issue, but it's addressing all the issues, right? Like, and I don't want to say issues in a negative form. I just like the creativity of it. Like, hey, we can make this work, and we can, and we can adjust your pay plan, like you said, to make this more, advantageous for you, because I can't tell you specifically the study, but I've read most that, money only motivates for a short amount of time. And after that, it doesn't do anything. Right. So I love that idea. I think that's a great tip and a great insight for sure.
Yeah. I mean, what happens if you have all the money in the world? Now what? Now all of a sudden you're not motivated anymore? I mean, for me, I'm about impacting lives, dude. I mean, that's what it comes down to. The money's second, distant second. I was very blessed to do very well financially in the car industry. I worked my ass off and everything, and it's not about the dollars and cents. I can go back in the trench and run a dealership and make a lot more money than I do now. I won't. I turned an offer down 2 months ago. Somebody offered me something. I said, absolutely not. Thank you, but no. But Anthony, it's not about the money. It's about impacting lives. I'm loyal. I'm with this, and it's about giving people that opportunity, giving them a chance, and doing this. So money's not motivation to me. I mean, I'm not working for free, obviously, But
right.
You want to be able to, figure out what's important to somebody. And I teach it in my training classes. If you're doing this for the money only, you'll phase out. You want to change the perception of the car industry. Nothing's more exciting than a customer saying, this is the best car buying experience I ever had. And now when you're driving home 2 miles or 22 miles, you have this big smile on your face because you impacted someone's life. That's what keeps me going, worth the traffic jams. So I'll sit in tomorrow driving back from New York, the flight cancellations, the flight delays, going through customs, which I will on Sunday, to Canada for a 2-week campaign for a Hyundai store up there. All those different things. It's worth it to give people a chance and to impact. That's what has to be your top priority in anything you do, both inside and outside the walls of the dealership. When you do that, then you'll be okay in life.
Yeah, man, I totally agree with you. So, all right, man. So we're getting really close to that time. There is one question I ask everybody that comes on the show, but before we get to that, I want to make sure that we cover this. And have that conversation about technicians and what are you seeing? Can you give us some tips, some insights on that side of things? Because, like you mentioned earlier, that I foresee it as we're already past that point where this is going to become a big issue in the industry. So, what are you seeing? What can the decision makers do to offset that on their end?
As far as getting technicians.
Yeah, it's overcoming that shortage.
The biggest key there is to change the schedule. Doing 410s, it would be huge with that, and really developing your homegrown talent. giving people a chance, and then implementing in their technician compensation plan, again, that one special thing. If it's a gift card for tools, getting a toolbox, special parking place. A lot of the technicians are outdoorsmen and they're hunters. All different things. Whatever makes them tick. Not everyone's money driven when it comes to that. I remember back in '98, my second year in the business, they had a contest, and one of the prizes was a $500 Macy's gift card. And I wanted that so bad. Because I didn't really have a ton of dress clothes at that point, 21 years old. And I wanted it. And I remember getting all these cool ties and shirts and everything. And
that's awesome
for myself. Yeah, right, this type of thing. And then I had another contest I won that I wanted. They know I wanted my demo to have a sunroof in it. So I wanted an Altima with a sunroof as my demo. I got it. And at one point I won a demo. It was a Pathfinder LE where I was driving a better demo than my managers. They were a little upset about that, but I won a contest. There were certain things that were put there because they were carrots that were important to me as a young kid. I was trying to establish my image, and I was feeling good in my early 20s type of thing, and driving around. And at the time, a $35,000 Pathfinder, now they're like 48, type of thing that was all decked out. That was important to me, so figure out what's important to your technician. With that, a fishing rod, a gift card for tools, what's it called? Snap. Oh my goodness, Snap-on tools, right? Thing, whatever it may be. It's like all those different things. A weekend off, 410s, whatever it may be. I'm telling you, if you do that, willing to relocate and pay for the relo, that's a lot of money. I get it, but guess what? And a technician's not switching his toolbox for $5 flat rate an hour increase. They're not doing it, yo.
Yeah, totally agree.
You know what I mean? So it's just, you have to figure out what makes them tick. So that would be my advice on that.
Is the 410 a big cultural shift for dealers? Obviously, it's a change, right? But in your experience, have you seen it being very difficult for stores to implement, or is it just a smooth transition? Obviously, you gotta go through the growing pains, but once you set it flows better. Because I would assume the issue is productivity, right? The decision maker may feel like they're not going to be as productive.
Yeah, there's very few stores that will implement that. We just signed up a couple technician campaigns for clients of mine and Automax's, and the service director, who's the owner's son, he reached out and said, "Hey, Anthony, I know you did a campaign for us in January. We still have 3 good, solid people that are working out for us. I need some techs. What can we do?" So I gave him the technician option. He said, "Let's do this." And I said, "Okay, what can we put in that would be different?" He said, "Well, we want to do that for 10 hours." I said, "Awesome." So he's implementing that, and they're going to start out that way. Well, what you do is you get enough people aboard that you can do the 4 10-hour shifts, and the production's there. I've worked with technicians. This gentleman named Steve Avis. And when I first started with Nissan back in 97, he was already, 15, 18 years in. His knees gave out on him and had to have a surgery, and the surgery got botched and everything. He's retired now. But you know what? If he went to 410s, maybe he'd still be working right now. Maybe it wouldn't have been, standing there on that concrete slab as a tech, going through PDIs and 60,000-mile services. That's hard. That's difficult. I never was a tech, but I get it. Because every morning I walked through the back end of the store when I started out. That's how I walked into the store, was to the back end. And I went to the technicians. "You make any tents today?" "Santangelo, we make hours." "I know that, but you have to make 10 tents first before you make an hour." "Well, that's true." And then, literally, I would say that every day to them. And I got to the point where they would see me. "We're making some tents, and that's awesome." And I always talked to the technicians. I did. And you know what? There wasn't a whole lot they could do for me. Every once in a while, I needed a larger screwdriver or something that was rusting on, and then we have to. No, that's about it. There wasn't a whole lot there. I just cared about them. this cared, figure out those things. And that's what's so important with it, the hours and that custom design bonus program. With that, hey, you turn 60 hours in a week. We're going to do this. Enjoy your weekend. Go hunt and go fish and take some pictures. We'll post it on the dealer website picture, on our website. Really? Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? On top of it too, during your staff page, take a picture of your techs and put them on there too. Show your service department some love, not just your service writers, not just the people that the customers face. Put those technicians on there too, and put their years of experience on there. Because a lot of those guys are just, tough blue collar guys that have worked their asses off on things for years, and show them some love back, because they need that. They do.
Right on, man. I love that. So one more question for you, man, but I want to give you a chance to let everybody know how they can get in touch with you. If you have anything coming up, podcasts, or I know you do lives all the time. I'm always looking at your stuff. I just saw you today on Facebook. Let us know how we can get in touch with you, man.
Well, I give my cell phone number out. My voicemail box is never full. I have a personalized reading on my cell phone. I highly recommend that you do that. Your voicemail greeting should not be "you've reached," wah, 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 wah. It shouldn't be like that. If you hear my voicemail, it's just, my voicemail is, "Hi, this is Anthony Santangelo, National Sales Recruiter and Trainer. I'm teaching a class right now, but your business is always important, or your business is very important to me, and I always return my phone calls. Please leave a name and message. I'll get back to you promptly." That's what you'll hear in my voicemail message. So I always pick up as long as I'm available. I'll even pick up a blocked number. I have nothing to hide whatsoever with it. So my cell phone is 267-784-9752. If you don't feel comfortable calling me or texting me, you can find me on Facebook under my full name, Anthony Santangelo. You can find me on LinkedIn as well. Shoot me a PM on LinkedIn, on Facebook Messenger as well, or my email address, which I do check several times a day, but that would be the last resort. I'd rather you go phone call, text, or PM. But my email address is the letter A and then Santangelo, SANTANGELO at automaxrecruiting.com with it. So morning, noon, or night, don't worry about time zones. I sit the phone next to my face for a reason, for many reasons. And one of them is, if somebody reaches out to me, my time is yours. If it wakes me up, and even if I'm asleep and I wake up, I'm still able to be perfectly functioning there. I don't drink alcohol whatsoever. I don't do drugs, and I've never smoked a cigarette, and I don't drink coffee. So I'm very alert. If I wake up, I'm good that way. So
I love it, man.
I bucked the car business trend there.
That's funny. I love it. I just said this on an episode the other day, but I want to say it again because you gave all your stuff, man. That was cool. I love it when the guests give their cell phone number, their email. I'm like, dude, they're serious. This is awesome. So
yeah, I want people to reach out to me. Salespeople, if you need advice, I will never charge you a dime. Even if your dealer doesn't invest in myself in Automax, I will help you for free. If somebody wants to buy my book, I have a book as well. I'm a co-author of 10X Mindset Habits. Feel free to reach out. I would charge a small amount for the book and sign it for you. But, for sales advice for free, if a dealer needs anybody from porter to the president, any position, the front or the back, please reach out. With that, if you want me to speak in your Saturday morning sales meeting, I do that as well. If it's local to where I'm at, I'll drive there. If you want me to Skype in, we can do that too. If it's further away, I actually have that in Canada next week. I'll be at a 10-day program for a dealership. That was a referral from LinkedIn. But I'm going to be speaking this Saturday in between the 2-week campaign. I'm driving an hour and a half to a different part in Canada and speaking in that dealer principals sales meeting. She wants me to speak in her meeting one of her staff. So, I'm going to do that. I'm going to get up there early Saturday morning and do that and give back. So all those things are there. So my time is yours, guys. Feel free to reach out, and I'll be glad to help you.
Thank you so much, man. Thanks for your time. Really appreciate it. One last question before we let you go. And I ask everybody this question that comes out of the show. And that question is, where do you see the automotive industry headed in the next 5 years, and why?
The automotive industry is being headed in a position where the dealerships that put their people first over the bottom line in production, they are going to be the ones that will be at the top. And those that continue with the process of old school ways with the extra crazy hours, the 100% straight commission, and the thought of, barely giving them training and have them shadow somebody that doesn't even want them being shadowed, they're going to fall to the bottom. So, I mean, the choice is yours as a dealer of where you want to go. You don't necessarily have to use a recruiting and training company. And of course, I'm biased there. That's fine. But you don't have to use somebody like myself in Automax. Let's just get the people trained the right way and invest the time with that. When you do that, the blessings will come, and you'll see the cream will rise to the top as the time goes by, and you'll hit your 120% objective every month.
Right on, man. There you have it, folks. Anthony, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you coming on. This has been a great conversation. I'd love to have you back on the show in the future, and kind of, there's so many topics that I want to cover with you, but I try to keep these, make it easier for people to check these out during their commute. So we definitely got to have you back on the show.
I mean, my pleasure. It was an absolute honor, and thoroughly enjoyed this. I really enjoyed the conversation. You had some amazing questions. As the person that usually is the interviewer, as I do, I don't get interviewed often, but obviously, people do that. You had some tremendous questions that I'd have to think about it to be 100% certain, but it might be one of the best interviews that I've been the interviewee with, and that's kudos to you. Some great questions you had.
Oh, my God. Thank you so much, dude. I really appreciate it. Again, thanks for being on the show. That's all we have for today, folks. And as usual, we'll talk later.
You made it all the way to the end. Congratulations. Thank you so much for tuning in. We truly, truly appreciate it. If you like this episode and you think of somebody that can benefit from this information, please make sure to share it. Share this podcast so that they can take these insights back to the dealership and implement on their day-to-day. Thank you so much. And as usual, we'll talk later.